Hey, you guys, good morning. It's MJ from Alta Love. How are you? I'm clearing stuff. As you guys know, there's some pretty intense energies afoot as far as our ability to be present with these massive waves of healing and purging, and ultimately, in the moment, recognizing that we're clearing the past, that we're letting go of painful patterns of suffering and disconnection and despair. And then obviously in this share, hey fifth world, how are you, beautiful? um Simply because it's what came out yesterday for me was like we're still clearing like hatred and so contempt wasn't coming out for me, but certainly self-hatred and self-disgust was still coming up. And that can be like the feeling of it and or the thought frequency of it. And this is something that I noticed early on in my like being present with this transformational process was like um and this is a big piece about the efficacy of mindfulness and meditation is and then how I started to notice like the denial piece was like after I guess it would have been a good 6 years into my professional yoga career preaching self-love and acceptance and all of that all of that kind of stuff when I knew I was sort of deepening my connection to myself and my emotions specifically with presence and mindfulness. And in these emotional storms, I would hear thoughts like, I hate you and you're disgusting and like fuck you and I don't trust you and da, 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 da. And again, when you look at perspective from unity, it's like whether I'm saying that to myself or other, it doesn't matter. The fact that I'm carrying those thought frequencies is showing me that energy frequency is still vibrating in me. So for me, like working on so profoundly working on self-love and working on um transformation and as far as our ability to like show up in our desired form, because as much as some of our spiritual indoctrination may have um and spiritual and or just our life path, like if we um I'm thinking of like rebellion, like sometimes we might like rebel, we might reject, we might escape, and all of it is in essence us escaping from our truth and us escaping from our power. And so when we escape that, we then start to layer up the divisive energy, which is hatred, things like contempt, things like disgust. And we ultimately layer that stuff onto our lives. And for some of us, it might be layering it onto our bodies. For some of us, it might be um, layering it through physical stresses and distractions. For some of us, it might be um, layering it through other escapist sort of tendencies. And again, there's no judgment here. It's just, I would say, kind of par for the course. We awaken and then we kind of want to run away. We want to forget about it. We don't want to go there, and that's okay. We all have this sort of infinite playing field. There's no rush in essence in new paradigm. There's no like as from yesterday's share or 2 days ago, there's no progress. We're already the truth. We're already enlightened. Like we're already the light. We can just shine our light into darker and darker, like ah! Or we could be like ah, 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 ah. Like it's better over here. Let's just look over here. Let's pay attention to the people that we vibe with. Let's pay attention to the projection we want to move with. Let's pay attention to our ability to feel well. Let's pay attention to our ability to feel connected. And that's not something um, massive thanks for you being here, Fifth World. And that's not something that is necessarily like taught us by example in the world. And ultimately, I just share the experience, right? Hey, Lady Blue, how are you? That was weird. It was like I was saying it as you popped up, and then as you said it, and then as I said Lady Blue, and you were popping up, and I'm like, how did I? That was weird. So yeah, so that's the intuitive insight for today. I'm not like massively have a bush flowing, because like if you could see my bed, I still have just like tissues, and it's your body, it does its thing to clear out these densities, and like it's so relevant to me, especially with the language, that density is like mucus, you know. And that is so like, it's so representative to me of like like the buildup of denial, density, fear, every time we close down, every time we deny, every time we bump up against negativity or clear out, right? Hey, Matthew. Have you? Yeah, and like it's not even like tough. Yeah. I mean, I'm I'm sort of like putting into perspective of like the year so far, and just being like, and then like the last few years, and then like life, and I'm just like, you know, and yet I gotta say, like, there's actually a lot. You gotta love the purging, right, guys? Um, hey, Lady Blue. Ooh, how exciting! Ooh, tell me about that. I mean, well, and this is the thing. So binary, we always have. There's always going to be a kind of double fold aspect to all this, and we've taken it down into the shadow realm of purging our hatred, our disgust, our contempt, whether for self or other. Same thing. That energy is existing in us, whether we like it or not. And yet, I'm just honest with you. After 10 years of yoga meditation in this journey, it's like there's still in the residue. I call it the kind of and again, paradox, but like in the residue, i.e., we think our patterns are coming back. We're like, I'm never going to escape. I'm never going to be free. I'm still disgusting and horrible and blah, blah, blah. In that presence moment, even though it feels so real, and i.e., the illusion, it's so tempting to want to go back into the like, well, you might as well just never show up again, or you might as well just not try, right? So once you hit that residue, we will bounce out of it. But this year, this first like 3 months of the year has been like almost consistent, like bottoming out and residue, and bottoming out residue, and bottoming out residue, kind of like purging it. And then at the same time, all these new energies that we're working with, all this new clarity, all this new support, all this, yeah, just new energy, which is making me think like, yeah, we're still just like go swinging back and forth, and like shining light into our hatred and shining light into our contempt, right? Nice. Yeah. Brilliant. Buying crystals. Well, and I've been working really hard on the vegan love online course, the vegan love online course. And that's been bringing me into these quite amazing high vibrational experiences. And I'm really aware. Bonjour, chic équilibre. Matthew, thank you. This is why this community, you guys are so important. It's like, yes, reflecting back the truth of that. Because again, what is so miraculous to me about all this juicy juice is like this stuff for me, because I haven't really. So as I sort of focused and tunneled in to my like, dharma or purpose, you could say, and really started to commit to writing the book, I had stopped ingesting other stuff. And then as the book was like coming through, I remember like there's an actual line in the book that's like, I don't think this is going to resonate with everybody, but if it does, it's like, it's meant for you. It's like all the spiritual text I ever came across ever in my life. And you guys probably res with this. when you read it, you know it already. It just activates, you're like, I'm aware of this stuff. It's like when I started doing yoga training, I like a lot of the meditation practices and breath work, and there's these thing called bandhas, and they're like energy locks in your body. All of these sort of foundational yogic practices, I randomly like knew already, and I used to do when I was like a super little kid. So it's like even just being able to show up here on a day and share like the truth of my experience, and then have random people in the world, like we've gotten to know each other, certainly vibrationally, but in resonance, but like essentially not to know each other at all, and to be reflecting back to one another the same process. And for those of you who have bought the book, instant recognition, right? And or people who are like cognitive dissonance, like what are you actually saying? And I'm like, like I sort of had that with a little bit of my community, or maybe a family member or something. It's just like, I'm not sure what you're talking about. And like I knew that writing it, like I knew I was stepping out into this unknown, but like this very heartfelt, like my truth, basically, like what I knew after all of those years and tunneling into like going in, I was like, we're clearing our cells. We're transforming the cells of our beingness. It's like early days. I don't know if you guys remember or read, I think his name's James Redfield, but the Celestine prophecy. So that would have been like, so Power of Now was like super early for me. I found Power of Now in an independent bookstore in Vancouver back in 2001. Which would have been probably one of his first, if not the first, like edition. Read that, was totally like up my arse, and then proceeded to just learn infinite kind of ego death lessons as far as humility, and still am. Like when I share this stuff, like, oh, yesterday I was processing and or transforming hatred. Pardon me, you guys. Pardon me. I'm like high vibrational, right? What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, it's like I for so long in the kind of yoga, the well-being industry, right? And like blogging and vlogging and contributing to all the like mind, body, green, and like really getting into like Spirit Junkie and like all these amazing people, who are amazing, and they're totally shining and radiating good stuff. But I, in my personal experience, always felt alien from even those like spiritual teachers. Although I felt and was like, oh man, they're talking about such amazing stuff. Always for me, there was like this deep, dark, like, oh, but the emotion, like there's so much emotional density. And then connecting more dots, it was like, hey, what about our karma? What about our genetic coding? Pardon me, what about our ancestry? And so it was like sort of combining new age spirituality with ancient techniques and practices with modern science. So you're kind of fusing these three aspects that all carry potential for our own unfoldment and positive upliftment, right? Hey, Justin. And then essentially we have to unify them, i.e., so if we're just in our spiritual communities talking about spirituality, but there's no practical efficacy, like there's just people i.e., even spiritual communities that meditate every day, that's effective, because we know on a scientific level that if you're a group of people and you meditate, you actually radiate peaceful vibrashe, like that's fantastic. So it's not about dissing on people or putting people down. However, if we're a spiritual community that just get around and talk about how great we are and or how much healing there's still yet to do, and yet we're not in service to our community, we're not showing up, we're not, shining, and we're not speaking the truth, and we're just kind of hiding away in our comfortable privilege, this is not, to me, effective spirituality. This is not, to me, effective kind of human behavior at this stage in the game. At this stage in the game, comfortable privilege is like almost like the last lid to blow. Because we are that. A lot of us. A lot of us are, like, born into that kinda comfortable privilege, and then through our own choices, via the heart, we weren't able to, like, abide or fit in or go down the conventional path because we were empathic and compassionate. And things shone into our awareness, which helped us be like, I I can't just do what you tell me to do. Like, I can't do that. And then for years and years, so for some of us almost 2 decades, feeling completely, like, pushed aside from the world purely for fucking being compassionate, basically. And you're just, and then, like, again, for divine miraculous reasons, you just continue to move through life. And like Bentinho would say, there's, like, you yourself are putting down little breadcrumb trails, i.e. signs and symbols from your universal kind of creative portal. You're laying down these signs and symbols, and then you're just kind of following them. And really, us like following this is us being like, hello, excuse me, guys, we're still like, this is how I feel about it as well. Like, okay, so this is a piece I've mentioned that a lot of us may res with, as far as, like, in these certainly, like, last year and a half to 2 years, since we've been really coming to the end of the Uranus and Aries transit and moving into Taurus, really shedding, right? Really purging, really having to let go. And for me, by the time, so once I got to the end of my 33rd year on this life path, and then the year I turned 34 was the year I ended up publishing my book, i.e. the end of my 33rd year. And I knew intuitively that I'd never reached this point in a life cycle as a human. And for some reason, I feel like a lot of us in this community resonate with that. And so, i.e. why we're feeling this great unknown, why we're feeling, a lot of us, this great expanse and this kind of, like, new unknown energies, is because we're like, oh my God, like, we survived. We're still here. The earthlings aren't going to kill us anymore. They're not going to persecute us, right? Pardon me, you guys. I try not to, like, cough in your face, even even though, like, it's not like you're gonna get the germations, even though it's pure love and light, you guys. And mucus density, junk DNA from ages gone by of my ancestors. And this is just where I'm at with it. So the hatred and the contempt, this is still personal karma for me, but I'm getting, like, there's collective wounds being cleared, and there's also ancestral, weirdly. The ancestral stuff I always feel connects to my bones. Again, you guys know me. I'm pure intuition, vibrashe. And so this is just stuff that comes to me in these moments where I'm like, okay, yeah. So a lot of the thicker physical stuff, the body shame. Today, it was more last night, contempt and disgust and self-hatred and, like, fear, and real fear, like, I don't own my body. That primordial disconnection of, your body's not yours, you know? Your body belongs to the world, and not just to the world, but, like, the corrupted, manipulative, dark energy of the world, that your body belongs to that, and you will never be free. So no wonder we disgust ourselves. No wonder we hate on ourselves, right? You would. Because you've forgotten any divine, spiritual, cosmic, radiant, infinite, eternal being would feel a bit shit if somebody was like, oh no, you're just a little meat suit. You'd be like, huh? But no, you're a meat suit and I control you. What? And, like, squeezing off into like, okay, I'm a meat suit. Hence why a lot of us, we feel so alien in the awakening, because we're just like, I'm not a meat suit. Like, that is not all of me. This is just my chosen, finite, potential experience here in this body, in this finite time. time experience signature. It's like but the truth of us are way more infinite and expansive and like powerful and like, I was Mark Antony. You mean that in a past lifetime, eh? So I was always nobodies. I was just always like renegade rangers types. Although I lived in small communities. I definitely had a life in Egypt as well. Pardon me, you guys. Yeah, I definitely had a life in Egypt, but again, it was and actually connected to recent karma as far as like giving birth and then having to give my son to like one of the ruling people, and then it makes sense why I was like the slave girl, and then he denied me because he didn't know the connection and da da da. So I'm like, past life can help us often make sense of like what the fuck is actually happening and why are these people doing this. Sometimes we can trace it back, right? Oh, visceral fear, biomass, meat balloon full of blackish water and bacteria. Amazing insights when we go into that. Yeah, and I get I have a cellular connection when I'm sitting with my past projection and or when I'm sitting with the density that's coming up for release. Like actual cellular activity of like 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 in my beingness when I'm sitting there and I'm facing it, it's like darkness or fat cells or like just stuff, and it's not even necessarily like made manifest, it's just in the feeling illusory, i.e. a past. I could buy into that and then go ahead and create it, but you sit with it and you're just like, oh, right? And then I often have like just these the image or sense or like seeing these all the cells, the trillions of cells, but the junk cells, the distorted cellular behavior, you know, the cells that I took on via contract versus like the authentic choosing of my sovereign divine soul. So this is kind of like what we're constantly like: fear, love, divine soul, expression, radiant channel, or like fear, disgusting, lowly beings. And so clearly, if that's what your expression as well, Matthew, there's like a lot of collective purging in the kind of disgust, hatred, blackish, the tar water, right? Like that back and fairness, it's the bacteria which that connects to like my vision of like when I'm working with distorted cellular behavior, how they're like, you know, the little gremlins in some of those, I'm thinking old school here, like those commercials I used to watch growing up where like they'd have actual cartoon germs being like and then the Mr. Scrub or whatever would you be like, you'd have the happy housewife get your Mr. Scrub out of the counter, like get a man to help you do the cleaning and spray it around and then kill the germs, and then all the germs are like, yeah! Right? So like that's my experience in my body when I'm transforming dense cellular activity, residue, memory of self-hatred, memory of self-disgust. I literally like stand there, shine light, and then I'll see these little gremlin DNA just like like it's almost like, and that's the expression, and I use it a lot when I need it. Devil, get thee behind me. In my consciousness awareness, I'm like shining light onto those little gremlins, being like, cheers, guys. Like, thanks a lot for all of your teachings, because I'm such a like physically aware human that it's like my body has been my most direct teacher, my physical body, right? And then working with the feeling connection and obviously the emotions in this body have been how I've been able to kind of deepen my understanding of alchemy ultimately, right? What's his name? I feel like I'm off. It's not Mr. Scrub, or is it? Or Mr. Shine? I don't know. He was bald, and like now in my women's studies context, I'm like, damn, like even back in the day, we were sort of subliminally like, yes, a man will come along and make me an even better housewife. You know, and in those commercials, they must have been like in the Mr. Clean, God, Mr. Clean, of course. You guys are awesome. Yeah, so even, like, even Mr. Clean, like, back in the '80s or whatever, the women were like, um, "Oh, you got to vote, but you're still gonna be in the house, um, and but don't worry, this cartoon man, Mr. Clean, can show up and make you an awesome cleaner." I don't know, I'm just have you, Justin? Well, and I've been part of me working out control patterns was like being borderline OCD with cleanliness, but then noticing those patterns potentially disrupting my relationship. So I now don't like I don't get stressy about cleaning. I make sure to do off. I just make sure to do my cleaning on floor, you know? Like so if I feel like cleaning, I'll clean. And it's straight up, you guys, it always happens. But I'm actually super proud of myself. I'm actually super proud of myself for like when I see little dust bits or when I see like mess. I'm someone who's proud of myself when I'm not like having this like mild panic attack because there's like I should go clean it and then I'll start cleaning the whole house and start feeling fucking irate at people for making messes all the time. You know what I mean? So like I anyway. I don't know how we get talking about this stuff, but I love looking down the chat line and just being Mr. Clean, scrubbing bubbles, Mr. Clean, me clean, scrubble. So this is a very clean chat. We're so clean. Oh, Julie, I'm trying to look. Yeah, so much love for you. I totally feel that resonant connection as well. For some of you, it's like there's I feel very connected in the chat, and then some of us we like I miss the chat, but I'm totally aware of your guys' comments on the videos, you know? And for some of you, I just feel it. I feel the resonance. Like I know it's like we know each other and we feel each other and we get what we're talking about. And it's just such a fucking relief sometimes to be like, right, so we're not fucking crazy, right? Like our love and our empathy is fucking useful here. And we need to let it out. We need to let it shine and we need to just like anchor in that love and shine it for people, right? Oh, hot love vibrashe. I know after a lifetime of it, it's pretty liberating to finally be like, I got this. And like all those child innocent curiosities and dreams, those are all here for us now in a very real way. I'm looking forward to like if something came in about like there's just so much subtlety. So i.e. there's a lot happening in the invisible. So just mega love for all of us here. It's not comfortable, but we're doing great work as far as clearing hatred, contempt, and disgust, which is it's pretty layered up around the shame and guilt stuff, right? So if we're still having to go deeper into the shame and the guilt, awesome. I kind of get an intuitive sense that there's actually been a lot those densities have actually been pretty cleared by the empath or light worker community, which is why we're starting to feel these lifts, meeting more of us, and then reflecting back the mirrors, right? That we are lightening up, we are getting clear, we are manifesting, but a lot of us aren't manifesting via control domination. We're manifesting from the purity of our heart. So we need to keep that going for one another, which is why we show up, right? You guys show up for me like in the same capacity I show up for you. It's so we support each other, you know? And that's something with All to Love. It's like supporting and that's something about privilege. I talk about this at the beginning. The reason why we want to be shining light on entitled privilege and work it out in our own self is that we are responsible for the oppressed. We can't just go off and talk about, let's manifest our dream life and then pretend like we're not all one and connected to those that have been completely pushed aside, right? Those are our brothers and sisters. So like naivety and privilege and all that kind of stuff, that's a compassion piece as well. At the same time, we needn't tolerate, especially when there's manipulation going on, we need to wisen up to that, which we are. One, because we're finally standing that down, because so many of us have been pushed down via like, oh, you're crazy. What are you talking about? And you're like, oh, I guess I am crazy. I'll just shut down and be quiet because none of you understand me. And now the fact, look, not crazy. So that is like the turnaround. That is how that is part of our suddenly turning these big stories, these big collective light worker stories. We're now turning it all around to going, it's going to work out in our favor this time. We are going to start to see the manifestation of our whole life's outpouring of love. Most of us, you reap what you sow, right? Most of us have spent our whole livelihoods loving and feeling and processing and transforming. Now, finally, we have an intellectual, scientific understanding of what's going on inside us. And now we have the awareness to sort of call out the bullshit and to say no to intolerable behavior and to be responsible, but then reflect that responsibly back to other and not be around toxicity or lies or behavior. Woo! Nice, Justin. Maybe you should change your avatar for the day. I love you guys. I'm gonna go. My throat is pretty scratchy. I'm off to a vegan Exeter. Exeter is about an hour and a bit away from where I live, so I'm gonna go there with my good friend, and we're gonna eat some vegan food, and I'm gonna do more filming, and probably keep it pretty short. I've got one more video from week 2 to edit, and otherwise I'll probably want to come back and sleep and take care of my fine self, or maybe I'll be processing more hatred and disgust. I don't know. You're my people. This is such a beautiful community. Again, I literally, like, the words can't express, but I'm just so thankful. Mega love you guys. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you tomorrow.